Hey everybody, this is Brandon from the Center for Excellence in Teaching at LCCC. I am going to go over the virtual classroom from YouSeeU. We're going to kind of go along. I've done quite a bit of testing here. I've noticed a couple things, and we'll probably run into them as we go along, but one thing I do want to say is that best practice is, like, if you're going to share a PowerPoint, you can see I've got my PowerPoint over here. I'm going to keep it on my second screen. If you've only got one screen, you can keep it in the background here when you're pulling this up. Just at the start, I'll say if you have any questions or issues, things like that, definitely contact the CET. Our email address is cet@lccc.wy.edu. You can also get a hold of us by phone at 307-778-4363. Now, this video is probably going to be a little bit longer just because there's a lot to go through here, and I kind of want to cover a lot of the steps as well as some contingencies. So I'm just in a course here. I'm going to go in and go to the virtual classroom. Now, you'll be able to see once this loads up. It will take just a second, but once it loads up, you'll be able to see all of the meetings that I've done and whether or not they were recorded. You can see all of these have little recordings. You can always look at these little things. So how do I use this? On the page, you can enter, edit, and delete and schedule meetings. Use the controls provided below. So these little hints pop up pretty much everywhere around YouSeeU. Now, if I want a meeting, I can just click Schedule Meeting. We're going to go ahead and call this, we'll call this Week 1 Discussion. I already have an Introductions one in there. I'm going to schedule it for now. I will tell you one of the hints is that if you want to use one of the what YouSeeU called kind of their faster servers with a little more capacity, schedule these, at least I would say 15 minutes in advance. We're going to be okay just because I'm on one computer. We should be fine. We're okay to schedule just one right when we can. So we see it gives us a time in red. The minimum time that we can do, we'll say 10 o'clock and 10:10. There we go. We've selected it. We don't need a very long meeting, so we're going to say 30 minutes. And we'll say if we want to record, whether we want an automatic link to the recording, whether we want to allow people who are not authenticating through D2L to come in, and if we want to invite the whole class. You can also set whether this recurs at the same time. Obviously, I don't want to do that with just a 10 a.m. meeting on a random Friday in September. But if you do have recurring meetings, you can set those up. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. It'll take just a minute here to set up that meeting. Oh, it's mad because I have the wrong time in. Let's go 10:11. There we go. We'll go ahead and save. There we go. We can see my meeting is scheduled up here, Week 1 Discussion, at this particular time. Because we are at 10:11 a.m., I can open the meeting room straight from here. A good practice to be able to do is if you go into Content. Inside of Content, you can see here's my old Introductions one. You can add these meetings to your content, and I highly recommend that. So if we go into Existing Activities, you can see here's Virtual Classroom at the bottom. You click that, it's going to take a minute to load up. Then it's going to list all of your meetings that you've had. You'll notice that none of these meetings down here, I can't add them, I can't click on them, but the blue link up here for Week 1 Discussion, I can click on. Once I choose that meeting, it's going to add it in. There we go. We see Week 1 Discussion. You can either go back to the virtual classroom or you can actually just click on the Week 1 Discussion here. Give it a second. It'll put us in the meeting lobby page. Gives us a little bit of information about the meeting, who's the person who created the meeting, what time the meeting is, the duration of the meeting. It gives you phone bridge information. Just make sure that if you do have to pay for long distance charges on your phone that you're aware. These are not toll numbers, but they are not toll free numbers either. And so if you have a cell phone that has no restrictions on where you can dial, that's the best way to go. And then it's going to give you the meeting number right below. It gives you quick tips. It does tell you up here, make sure you use Chrome or Firefox. Now, Chrome is The preferred browser for D2L Firefox also works. For YouSeeU, Chrome and Firefox are the recommended. If you're using Chrome, you do have to use a little extension. I do have it already installed up top here if you're going to share your desktop. You can see the quick tips. You can also expand all of these tips down at the bottom. They give you some good information. Again, you'll see Chrome or Firefox. Internet Explorer is going to give you problems almost definitely. That is kind of true with D2L as well. It's no longer a supported browser. So the most up-to-date version of Chrome or Firefox is an important step for making sure that YouSeeU will function properly for you. It gives you information about recording if you're interested, and in participation. You can see there is a line. If you are using Chrome, you will need this particular plugin for Chrome. If I actually just want to copy that name and paste it into my bar up here in a new tab, you'll see the Chrome store up top, and it does give you access directly to that extension. Now, I already have it added, but if you don't, click the blue button, wait for a second, it'll tell you that it's added, and then display the little icon up here in the top right. Go ahead and close this, and I'm going to go ahead and enter the meeting room. Now, when you first go in, it's going to ask you a couple things. So first off, it's going to ask you if you click, if you want to only listen to the meeting, or if you want to join and be able to participate. So listen only means you're only going to hear what's in the meeting. You're not going to participate vocally in that meeting. Most of the time, folks will want to join with the audio option. And right when I click that, it's going to ask me up here in the top left, this is Chrome again, if I want to allow Chrome to use my microphone. I'm going to say allow. And you can see down here, while I'm talking, it is telling me that there is audio. So it gives you a pretty clear picture of how loud your audio is, everything like that. Now, in most cases, you will find that this is actually going to list your audio inputs instead of just saying audio input 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and same for speakers. You can also play a sound to see if you can hear that. On here, it's a little upset because I'm using Camtasia to capture this, and Camtasia has already grabbed several of my audio devices. So we're just going to say enter session. When you come in, it's going to do a couple of things here. So it's going to give you all of these little tool tips here. So it tells you, hey, you can click icons to expand sections. You can record your session by clicking this record button up here. Your settings are off to the top right. Presenter content, so the whiteboard is in the middle by default. And then you can manage how you participate at the bottom. So if you want to get rid of those, just click anywhere. You will see the whiteboard up top. There are tutorials listed at the bottom for how to use the virtual classroom there. Make sure you make note of that. They've got a great video library of how to use it. And then as you go through, these are just white screens that you can use to draw on or anything like that. Now, most folks are probably going to do a couple of things. Number one, use audio. So if you don't want to talk or don't want people to hear you, if you've got a dog barking, baby crying in the background, you can mute yourself in YouSeeU just by clicking that little button, and you'll notice it changes from mute to unmute when I click that button. Now, another easy one is sharing your webcam. I'm going to click it. It's just because we want to see this. It wants to use my camera. I'm going to say allow. Now, this is black simply because my laptop is in a dock, and my webcam is at the very back of my desk with the lid closed. So it's just taking a close-up shot of my keyboard tray right here. One of the tips that they offer is only share your webcam when necessary, and so if you're the instructor, you may want to share that webcam all the time. But for your students, you might want to have them, if they're asking a question or answering a question or anything like that, you may want to have them share it, and when they're done, go ahead and hit exit webcam, and it will take that webcam off. So we were talking about how to expand these. That was one of the tool tips. So you can see automatically when I shared my webcam, it expanded the participant video, which is the video camera on the right here. Now, if I want to get rid of that, I can just click on shared videos. It will get rid of that tab. I can also expand a participants list. So I have just me in here. we are going to throw a student in here in a second, but you can also see there's chat. So I can get to chat through the participants list or chat through this button up here, and you can stack these up. So you can see I've got the participants list, the chat, and then the presentation here as well. If I click webcams, it's going to stack all of those, and then I've got the presentation on the right side over here. You can always collapse these if you want. If you're not interested to collapse participants, just click that participants button. So there's a lot of things that you can do here. So if I enable drawing, I can come in here and draw on these whiteboard pages, any of them that I want to. You can create shapes. You can do all of that kind of stuff just from your little menu over here. If you do enable drawing, when you're done, click disable. It takes your tools away. Now, the big one that a lot of folks are going to do is probably sharing their desktop. So in Chrome, I've noticed a couple things. YouSeeU tends to like it when you share an application more so than sharing an entire screen. Now, that is why what I said is prepare your materials beforehand. You can see I've got over here I have my PowerPoint that I'm going to share. I've put it on my second screen here, but I can click Share Desktop. It's going to take a second. It's going to pop up and ask me what I want to share. The first part is your entire screen. The second part is you can choose an application window. And so you can see my PowerPoint is over here. If I do the PowerPoint, I can share that. And I've also noticed that occasionally, right now, you see it didn't actually share my desktop. I'm going to try that one more time. Pick my application. We'll go to PowerPoint. And we'll click Share. And now you can see that it's sharing my desktop. And you can see here that you can see my PowerPoint. If I go in, you can see my mouse on there. If I go to my next slide, it may take a second to register, but it'll show my second slide over here. I can also do a presentation. So if I go in and let's go ahead and exit this sharing. I'm going to do this over here so that you can see. If I go in and I click slideshow, you can see my slideshow is up on this page. I kind of want it on a different page, and so I can swap these views here, and I can actually get rid of that presenter view. I can minimize this one, and then I'm going to do Share Desktop again. We're going to pick an application window, and we actually want the slideshow, so we can see the slideshow over here. I can click Share, and now you'll actually see my slideshow. I'm going to move this onto this screen just so we can see. So I can go through, you can see my mouse, I can move to, whoops, let me pull that up here. I can move to next screens, I can do all of that. There is going to be a little bit of a delay here, especially because I'm on a single computer. It's trying to go out and then back in. But you can share anything you want to on here. You can see mouse movements, all of that. Once you're done sharing your desktop, you can hit Exit Desktop. Now, there's a few other things on here that we haven't covered. So status is one of them. You and students can actually set a status. You can say, hey, I'm happy, hey, I'm undecided, sad. You can also use this to gauge where students are in here as well. Whatever that is going to show up over in the participants list. So I'm going to move this back over to my screen I'm not recording. And I'll put in confused, and you can see the icon next to my name over here shows that I am confused. So let me pull up, I'm going to pull up another screen here. I'm going to go into my class. I'm going to go in as a student. So here we are. I'm going into my sandbox where I put this meeting. Like I said, you can go into communication in virtual classroom, and it'll pull up your meetings. But first time students go in, they're going to see warnings, things like that, just as probably you will the first time you go in. And so there is a blind and low vision experience for folks. I don't need that here, so I'm going to say just OK. It's going to log me in, and here we go. Here's the discussion. You can see that this is available for me to join here. But the other way that you can do it is just through this content area. I go into content where students are used to going to see all of their content, click on week 1 discussion, and enter the meeting that way without having to do anything else. And so you can see there's a couple of options up here for students. They get the same information of recording, participation, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and click Enter Meeting Room. And we'll be able to see, how do you want to join the meeting? On this one, I can say, like, maybe listen only. So now it'll come through my speakers instead of having a microphone, just so that we don't confuse YouSeeU anymore. So what I want to do, I'm going to move this screen over to my other. I'm going to come back. So this is me as the moderator of the meeting. The small window right here, the incognito window, is actually me as a student in this meeting. You'll see they get the same layout here. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. Again, you can see share webcam. It'll let me share the webcam if it's present. Again, it's just a close-up of my keyboard tray. We're going to exit the webcam real quick. You can see that I can set status, but there's a few options that you don't see down here for students. That is on purpose for the standard layout for these meetings. So I'm going to go ahead and, as me, I am going to pull up the share desktop. I'm going to choose what I want to share. So we'll go ahead, let's try entire screen here. So I'm going to go ahead and share, and you can see it's got all my stuff over here. I'm going to pull up this window right here. We get that little infinity effect. So in the background is me as the presenter. In the foreground that I've now maximized is me as a student. And so you can see it's counting my Camtasia screen here, which is good because we probably need to be done soon. But you can see, again, as I go through, there's a little bit of a delay between these. So I'm clicking to the next screen, and boom, there we have it. Clicking to the next screen, boom, there we have it. And you can see it does recreate pretty much everything I've done, so you can see it as a student. Now, students can also access the other things like chat, so there can be a back channel here. So you can see that I can type in even while the presentation is going on. And I can continue to go through my PowerPoint however I want to. I can narrate just as I'm doing now. I can go in, collapse these. So as a student, this is pretty easy to use. As an instructor, it takes a little bit more. So let's switch back to instructor mode. I'm going to go ahead and pop that in there. We are going to get a little bit of that infinity effect, but I'm going to go ahead and exit desktop sharing so that we're just back to this slide here. So there are some settings that you can set up. You do get a connection monitor here. There is a help button over here. If you have questions as a faculty member, please talk to the CET. That's, again, cet@lccc.wy.edu. But you can also get a hold of us by phone at 307-778-4363. If you have students that have issues with YouSeeU, they can call the help desk. They are likely to forward that issue onto the CET, but the help desk is the point of contact for students, and that is itstech@lccc.wy.edu, or their phone number is 307-778-4357. That spells help on the keypad. So there are some settings that you can set in here. So if I click the little 3-bullet drop down and click Open Settings, you can see what these settings are, what participants can do or not, and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't need to change any of that. I generally look at the defaults. You can also see now that I have a participant who has joined. It gives me a little notification of that, and it also gives me a notification of that chat message that was sent. Lastly, let's cover what's in this Actions menu over here. So one of the important things is when folks join a meeting, they may or may not be muted. And some learners may not know that when you enter a web meeting, common practice is to mute yourself immediately. So you can actually mute everybody. And if I go into the participants list, everybody will be muted. We know that screenshot student here is simply listening in, so they don't have a microphone. You can initiate polls. So I want to do a yes/no poll. I can ask the question, initiate that poll, and then if we look over here, you'll see that it gives me options as the student. We're going to say no. Okay, so I'll say no. I'll move this back over. Now you can see the no has registered here. If I want to publish that, it publishes out, and then we see those results. So next, you can do breakout rooms. I only have one person in here, but we can assign people to different rooms. So I can say I just want 2 rooms. I'm going to be in one, the student's going to be in another, with a time limit of, let's say, 3 minutes. I can create those rooms. It's going to offer an invitation. I'm going to pull the student back over here as a student. I can say I want to join room 1. It opens a new window for a new meeting, asks me to join or listen, and it gives me a timer up top of how long I'm in that room. It's going to be the same if I join in as an instructor. It's going to ask me how I want to join, and you'll notice that these can be moderated by the students who are in those breakout rooms. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to get out of the breakout room. I'm going to come back over here. Students are going to have those 3 minutes to be able to do things. If I go back to actions, I can say close breakout room, show them so I can look in and see who's in there and what they're doing. I can also close the breakout rooms to force everybody to come back into the main meeting area. Lastly, you can actually upload presentations, and so it says click here or drag and drop a file for uploading. So YouSeeU only allows you to present with PDF files. So if you have a PowerPoint, such as I do, I'll go ahead and open it. We can take a look here. If I want to present this via YouSeeU, I can do a file, save as Adobe PDF. It's going to open my little window here. I can go in. I'm just going to throw this on my desktop. It'll take a second. And we'll say, yes, I want to include my speaker notes. I'll pull this over here. And then you can see now I have a PDF of my presentation. So I'll go ahead and close this. I'm going to close PowerPoint. I'm going to click here to upload a file. We'll go and we'll look at my desktop. And you can see, here's my Mobile in Mind presentation. I can upload that. It'll take just a minute. And I can close this window. Then you'll notice that I have all of my slides in the slide deck here. And I can progress as I see fit. If I want to, I can enable drawing. I can draw things on here. Perfect. Yeah, I can choose a different color if that's too dark for me. There we go. How about a yellow circle? You can write text. You can do just about whatever you want to with this and your presentation. So if I go forward, you'll notice it takes away the drawings. If I go back, those drawings are still there. So this gives you a little bit of an idea how to set up and run a YouSeeU virtual classroom meeting. I definitely hope this is helpful. One more time, contact the CET if you have questions, cet@lccc.wy.edu, extension 4363 on campus.